Fast 10 is the 10th Fast and Furious film, and we have entered the 10th chapter of this whole story. And how do I feel about it? Well, to be frank, it is a little bit stale. But before I get to the main review, I'd like to flashback a little bit. From the first Fast and Furious film to the fourth, they were pretty realistic. They are straightforward. The stories that they are telling is not as convoluted. The stories are very simple back then. And to movies 5 and 6 and 7, they were taking a little bit more cartoony approach, you know. They are really pushing back on the realistic factor and turning back unrealistic factor there. But at least the movies back then were still acceptable. But the problem is with movies number 8 to now 10, they have taken a lot of things unseriously here. They are really making movies like cartoons, and I really did not like that. I really did not like that tone change. But I do still have some positives to say. And the number one thing is the villain here, played by Jason Momoa. His name is Dante Reyes. His performance helps, but the thing with this villain is that, you know, his motivation, he just wants some revenge for Dom and his family, and that's it, you know. There are no deeper motivations to the characters. But, like I said before, his performance helped, you know, to make this character a little bit acceptable. And I really like that. I really like that they're trying to bring something new to the table here with the villain. And it works with this character. And also Jason Momoa's performance. Although his acting is a little bit over the top, but I can still consider that as an acceptable aspect that I really like in the film. And now I will go to the plot points. To be frank with you, these kinds of movies don't need a lot of narrative purposes in them, but you still have to understand the story. And what they did here, they're just throwing plot points after plot points and also subplots that doesn't really connect to the main plot right before the ending of the film. And right by the end, you don't get that conflict resolution. You're just getting a startup point to the plot points that they are probably going to conclude in the next 2 movies because they have confirmed that. But I do still want to, you know, at least give us a resolution to one of these conflicts. And the movie did not do that at all. So the purpose of this movie is just to tell you what's going to happen in the 11th and the 12th film without telling you any resolution at all. That is my biggest problem with the narrative here. And I said before, this movie has a lot of plot points and subplots. And it's not that cohesive. When you combine the subplots and the main plot here, it's not really that cohesive. And it really distracts you. Even though they're preserving a lot of action here, but at least the action sequences here are a bit enjoyable at some parts. Not all of them, but at some parts. I will elaborate this with the Rome opening chase scene. That particular sequence really welcomes you to this movie properly. Even though it is a little bit cartoony, but at least the movie welcomes you properly. But there are also some fights that really do not have any objective in the narrative. There are a lot of fight scenes that happen without any purpose at all. I will make you an example with the Levy and Cypher fight. That fight scene did not need to happen at all, and it would have been fine, but they did it anyway. That really distracts you from the film, you know? They're just trying to get you to this large action set pieces, but the thing is, the action sequences are a little bit tedious here. They're not trying to do something new with the action sequences at all. They're just repeating the action sequences until you are bored. And that is my main problem. And that is a shame, because that is the main selling point of this film. The over-the-top action sequences. And sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't work, you know. My second problem here with this movie is the runtime. I know, because this movie is trying to set up a lot of things. Maybe this movie is still too long. This movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I think they could have cut that 20 minutes out. It really doesn't change it, because some of the action sequences and the scenes here that doesn't need to happen really drags the movie down in its pacing, and it really hurts the film, the overall enjoyment of the film. If you are a Fast and Furious fan, you still find this movie quite enjoyable. This is slightly better than 9, but it is still bad. I still prefer the earlier Fast and Furious film, that they were not taking itself so comic booky, so cartoony, because that approach works better than this approach. Just push the story forward without over-topping the action sequences, and a little bit, you can still keep that a little bit action sequences there, but just push the narrative a little further and conclude some of the plot points that you're trying to set up in the second or the third part of the finale. That is my biggest point with this film, this biggest failure with the film, because this movie is trying to set up too much, but it doesn't really get anywhere in this film. It doesn't really get anywhere, and it didn't even have a conclusion yet. This movie literally ends in a cliffhanger, and I did not like it. So, for Fast and Furious 10, although there are quite a enjoyment aspect of this film, narratively speaking, this film doesn't provide much context. So with that being said, I'm going to give this Fast and Furious movie a 5 out of 10. So, if you have seen this movie, tell me what you think down below, and see you on the next video. And also, here is the question, the biggest question. What is your favorite Fast and Furious film? Out of all 10 of them, out of all these 10 movies, what are your favorite? Myself, it's Hobbs and Shaw. The movie is pretty good. This movie is slightly better than 9, but 5 out of 10. Alright, see you in the next video, and leave a comment down below what you think about this film and what you like about the Fast and Furious as a franchise. Thank you for watching.